All right. So happy Friday. Thought today we would talk about Portugal. I think we've mentioned Portugal once or twice in the past as a country that has an exceptionally high vaccination rate. I thought doing a little more of a deep dive into Portugal recently might be helpful to demonstrate what that means when you do things right. So everybody see my screen okay? All right, good deal. So the Wall Street Journal, this is about 10 days ago, had a good feature on Portugal, and I thought that it highlighted a couple of things that, again, really demonstrated how a country doing things right can really dramatically alter the calculus of living with the pandemic. And the journal's point was that essentially Portugal had achieved endemic COVID-19, as a livable and manageable disease, similar to many others that we experience on a daily basis, but doesn't impact or disrupt society or economy significantly. And a couple of things in the article I think that caught my eye. First of all, we'll talk about the vaccination rates in Portugal, which have been the result of a very aggressive vaccination campaign that really took place, in late spring and in the summer. But you can see that Portugal has a remarkable vaccination rate, essentially universal vaccination for higher risk people over the age of 50, and then very high vaccination rates even in younger adults, 95% of people between the ages of 25 and 49, and even in adolescents, 88% of essentially junior high and high school age students are vaccinated in Portugal. The result of that has been a dramatic reduction in hospitalizations and deaths in Portugal. You can see here that at the peak of their winter wave, of what was alpha variant in 2020, they experienced almost 300 deaths per day, compared to currently what they've been seeing is 6 deaths per day, even with the presence of Delta variant, as it is happening across much of Europe. Because Portugal achieved this very high vaccination rate, they were able to essentially remove most of the significant restrictions in terms of movement and activity on October 1st. They essentially went back to pre-COVID containment rules, with the exception of, essentially the citizenry and businesses have adopted certain provisions to maintain a safe environment. Hygiene is obviously something that people are still taking seriously. People are still wearing face masks in public, and they're mandatory in places like public transportation and in schools, and for employees in shops and restaurants and bars. But people are going to restaurants and bars and often wearing masks, face masks, when they're not, actively eating or drinking. And then they are having large gatherings and sporting events, soccer games, indoor events. And for many of these, there are vaccine passports or certification that's required. But essentially, they're completely open for business with these provisions. And what's remarkable is that they've maintained very low disease activity rates. So you can see here, this is kind of a global summary of it's not every country, but representative countries and vaccination rates. And you can see Portugal is about at the top in terms of country vaccination rates. 89% have received at least one dose. I think it's between 87 and 88% are actually fully vaccinated. Compare that with the UK, which previously had been an example of a very high vaccination rate. And they've kind of plateaued out at around 73%, around 68 or 69%, I think, are fully vaccinated. And then you can see us, where again, only 66% of the total population has received any doses of vaccine. And we're around 55, 6, 7%, I think, of the total population. So we're still well behind, where Portugal and where a lot of other countries are now in terms of our overall vaccination rate. And here's the result. What you can see here is the daily confirmed case count in Portugal is dramatically lower than it is in the European Union and in the UK, again, which had been previously kind of uh, the the representative example of a country with high vaccination rate. And obviously, the difference between Portugal and the UK is throughout the summer, when Portugal and the UK had similar vaccination rates, Portugal maintained a pretty tight non-pharmaceutical interventions and was able to control their epidemic of the wave, and case counts went down, whereas the UK in the summer essentially abandoned all non-pharmaceutical interventions and went back to normal. And as a result, you can see the UK has experienced this continuing significant plateau in Delta wave. And now a lot of the rest of the European Union is catching up with the UK. Eastern Europe has taken off tremendously, and Germany is now having a significant rise in cases, whereas Portugal's been at a pretty low rate, even since the beginning of October, when officially much of their COVID-19 provisions went away. You can also see that this translates into that incredibly low death rate, as we can see here. Deaths per capita per day are less than 0.05 per 100,000 per day, compared to rates in the UK and the European Union that are more than 5 times the rate that Portugal is experiencing, and hospitalizations are similar. So the UK has maintained proportionally a lower rate of hospitalization compared to their overall cases, compared to places like the US. But you can see their overall hospitalization rate, as is the US and the European Union, much, much higher than the hospitalization rate in Portugal. So Portugal has right now essentially achieved endemic status of COVID-19, and they've done it because they have an incredibly high population vaccination rate. And they've done it because certain common sense provisions, like wearing face masks in crowded indoor environments, have become kind of their social standard during the pandemic. And as a result, they're essentially able to get back to life as relatively normal. If only we could do the same. Thanks.